I'd like to go ahead and invite us all to fully arrive to our practice today by inviting the chime to sing. And you've all heard me play this chime. It's a beautiful, beautiful instrument. And what I'd like you to do is maybe close your eyes and allow your ears, bring your full attention to your capacity to hear, and maybe recognizing that your capacity to hear is changing. One of the natural happenings as we age is the auditory system loses sensitivity to certain frequencies and things lose their clarity. And so we don't hear speech as clearly. When things are loud, we become really sensitive to them and things sound a little bit more distorted. So if you're someone who can hear well and enjoy the full resonance of the chime, it is something to reflect on, it is something to be grateful for, and it's something to honor because it most certainly will not last. Welcome, everyone. This is Recovery Dharma. My name is Julia. I'm one of the facilitators of the Spokane Sangha. It is such a privilege to be able to be here practicing tonight. I am deeply inspired to be among you, prioritizing this hour to be together, practicing breath work, breathing together, synchronizing our breath, energetically setting an intention together. One of the intentions is to awaken to a deeper understanding of our habit energy and all the ways it manifests, not just in the use and misuse of substances or process addictions or food, but the way we think, the way we judge, the stories we tell, the allowance we give to inner critics, the way we engage that immature ego and allow it to govern without any thought or any real reflection. One of the most beautiful things about the Buddhist practice is the invitation to become really curious about ourselves and to be gentle in that curiosity and exploration, to be friendly and open, to smile at our utter madness at times and messiness, to grieve when we've been unskillful and caused harm and harbor regret, and to also remember to rejoice when the practices that we engage have manifested in deeper connection, greater insight, healing. We are here to become whole human beings. And by extension, we see one another as whole too. I'd like to set the intention for our practice today with the beautiful sentiment of metta, loving kindness. This one was painted by Lo and written by Lo. How do I get out of it? I'll just close it. There we go. This one reads, may you consider the magnitude of grace holding you. May you consider the magnitude of grace holding you. For the month of March, friends, we have been engaging a vipassana practice, deep looking. And I have presented several concepts, several ideas to explore and examine. Clarity, encouragement, dolor, rest, options, action. Today, let's bring forward grace. And let's also bring forward grace's opposite. And I would encourage you at some point later this evening or right now, if you're so inspired, to get on your phone or look it up in a thesaurus if you have one handy, to look up the antonym to grace. What's arising for me is arrogance. So let's hold grace and arrogance united. And what I'd like to bring forward, because it's activated in me, it's come alive in me reading Lo's beautiful sentiment of metta, is the arrogance that I can harbor in resisting, deflecting, ignoring, and even rejecting grace. There are times where I am so convinced that I am lowly, insignificant, unskillful, like why bother? I don't have anything special to say. I just tell myself that I can have access to inspiration, but maybe not. So in my arrogance and in my insecurity, I can forget. Frankly, I fall asleep to grace. Because those things are absolutely true. There are times where I am lowly. There are times where I am deeply insecure. There are times where I am uninspiring, unskillful, ridiculous, stupid, worthless. All of those things, all of those qualities are alive in me. It's true. And the truth is that with the light of grace, I'm able to see that I'm also giving. I'm compassionate and thoughtful. I'm cautious and wise. I'm creative and silly. I'm joyful. I'm all of those things as well. But when I succumb to a distorted mind, I dim the light of grace. I even stamp and stomp on its energy And that is a great arrogance. It is a great disservice to me and my family and my community and friends and you. And so the practice is nothing more than awareness. To pay attention to when I'm doing those things, when I'm cutting myself at the ankle, when I'm hammering at my psyche with expectations that don't even belong to me. Somebody else has put those thoughts in my head. When I berate myself and belittle myself and just keep the light of grace on dim and dull. Grace is bright and warm and energetic. It is full of action and leniency and forgiveness. Grace has no real patience for excuses that linger in dishonesty, but has great reverence and spaciousness for openness and curiosity. So for now, let's ground in grace. And to do so is so easy. Find your hands, place them palms down on the body somewhere, connect, and breathe. The miracle of your physical body is comprised of the earth itself. The earth is comprised of the same elements found in dying stars. The earth is of the cosmos. We are of the earth. You are of the earth. This is a miracle. Ground in it. Ground in the magnitude of this grace. Recall your intention to remember the vastness of grace, the exponential nature of your potential, the possibilities that are limitless in terms of options for healing. You are limited only by your imagination. Attune to what's around you. We heard from a couple of Sangha members just at the very beginning of the meeting that they had a rough day. And that was then, and this is now. And so we can attune to the beauty of this practice, this meeting, my voice, its cadence and resonance. May you attune to a sense of peace and ease. The C in grace is to consider what to do next. And maybe you've got a really strong-willed inner critic. Or maybe you're just feeling a little resistance to what's being shared here today. Invite that to be okay. Invite it to be perfect. And just consider a little curiosity about it. Would you look at that? The E in grace. It stands for two things in my mind. One is encouragement, to leave the practice on a positive note, on some recognition that you've taken the time to practice, you've taken the time to listen, you've taken the time to ground and breathe. Millions of people have no idea how to do this. And we see what happens as a result. There's so much aggression and hostility and violence, so much suffering. And if we can change the world of ourselves, the inner landscape of ourselves, and we can and we do, moment to moment, there is always hope for the world. It begins with each of us. The other meaning of the E in the word grace, according to Roshi Joan Halifax, this is her meditation, is to exit, to know when to leave a situation, to know when to take a break, to know when to gracefully bow out. The conversation, the practice, the engagement has exceeded one's capacity, and so we leave and pause and reflect and re-engage another day. May you awaken to the magnitude of grace holding you, all of you, the whole of you. Breathing in, limitless grace is holding me. Breathing out, I am held in limitless grace. Whether you think you deserve this or not, whether you think someone else deserves this or not, it's just the thinking mind, the judging mind. It's happening beyond all thought, beyond all judgment, in the limitless space of loving kindness. Okay. Alrighty, friends. Well, let's go ahead and end our practice today with a dedication of merit. And I'd like to read a dedication from this wonderful book by Thich Nhat Hanh called Moments of Mindfulness. And I want to bring forward something Christopher said, and it was just this moment-to-moment awareness. You know, these little awarenesses that tap us on the shoulder. And last week, Luma reminded us that it's all magic. So all of these synchronicities, all of these wonderful reminders are truly magical and beautiful. And even the greatest cynic and the most hardened heart is invited to soften just a little bit to the wonder of it all. So these are sayings from Thich Nhat Hanh, little moments of mindfulness. And I'd like to read one in closing to remind us that we take refuge in the Buddha, the one who was able to awaken to the causes and conditions of his own suffering, the way his ego consciousness immaturely and constantly, incessantly taunted, tempted, and teased him. And he finally awakened the wise one within him and said, "Hey, I'm awake, and the earth is my witness." We take refuge in his teachings, the Dharma, and the reminder that there are thousands and thousands and thousands of doorways into which we can enter, the thresholds upon which we can cross over, and be reminded to come home to our own wisdom, to trust it, to allow it to be illuminated, to allow the healing and transformation that is bound to come, not only for ourselves, but to extend it out, to share, as Ken so wisely said. We also take refuge in the Sangha, the community of wise friends. And friends, many of you have heard me say, the last thing I want and the last thing I seek is a community of like minds. I much prefer a community of curious minds, cluttered minds, messy minds, cranky minds, real minds. The Sangha is a community of wise, real, whole people. We bow to it all. Thich Nhat Hanh writes, understanding this is the foundation of love. Thank you for your practice, friends. We'll see you tomorrow. Namaste.